Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson, Stephanie Phillips with another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Jessica Peterson, Clark County District Court Judge, Department 8. But before we go to Judge Peterson, Ms. Phillips.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. And thanks to our sponsors. We have Semper Heating and Cooling. Their website is callsemperfi.com. Callsemperfi.com. Get in touch with them if you need your system checked. Also, we have Mayor Michelle Romero. She is running for re-election in Henderson. Her website is votemichelleromero.com. votemichelleromero.com. We also have Angelo Carvalho. He is running for Board of Regents, District 3. His website is carvalhofornevada.com, and that's the number 4, carvalhofornevada.com. And our newest sponsor right here is Cody Whipple. He is running for Congressional District 4. His website is Cody K for Congress. Cody K for Congress. Jump on his website and check out his platform. Also, don't forget to grab your copy of Steve's book, How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System. If you are a litigant going through family court and don't have an attorney or you can't afford one, this is a self-help book and it will help you through. You can get a copy on Amazon. It is $14.99 and he will autograph a copy for you. Also, we have a merch store. It's vipimerch.com, vipimerch.com. We have all kinds of fun things for you to check out on there. Our consulting website is vipiconsulting.com. Jump on there if you are a candidate in need of a campaign manager, consultant. Get in touch with us on that. Also, we have our Valentine's Ball tickets on sale now. If you go to our social media pages, you will find the link where to buy those tickets. And there's only they're extra early bird tickets because the ball is not until February 7th of 26. But for the next 2 months, we have a limited supply of these tickets and they are discounted quite a bit. So you're going to want to jump on those early. There's also opportunities for if you're a candidate, you have a business or a nonprofit, you can get a table at the ball and advertise all of your things, whatever you would like to. And also there's placement for your logo on our event program. So make sure you check out that when you are on there buying your tickets. And I really don't have a rant for this one. I kind of had a explosive rant for the last show. But I just want to say happy 4th of July to everybody and be safe this weekend as we celebrate our country. And also we went down to the county commission yesterday and to testify. We've been down to the city and I would encourage people to go down there if you want to get in touch with your commissioners or city council people. It really does make a difference. And we went down, I talked about District F because in the county, District F is a mess and there's lots of things that need to be improved. So I talked about that. Steve talked about asking the commissioners to investigate all of these reports about the county recorder, Debbie Conway. So you'll want to jump on our Facebook pages and listen to those, to the testimonies and hear for yourself what we had to say to the county commissioners. And also congratulations, April Becker. It was great to see you on the commission yesterday. So.
Judge Peterson.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Could you give us a bio? Don't leave anything out, Judge Peterson.
Where do you want me to start?
Day of birth.
Okay. Born in London, England. My father was over there working.
You're naturalized?
I was born to American parents. So
okay. So you're American?
Yes.
You're not naturalized?
No.
You got a birth certificate that says you were born in America?
No, I was born in England.
So you're English?
Yes, I'm a foreign born. No, but I'm American. I'm
a
United States
you're born on American soil?
No, I was born in England. I'm
on the base?
No, I was born in England to American parents. My parents are both United States citizens.
I just want to make sure ICE don't come for you. That's all.
They're not coming for me. I have a United States passport that I could show you right now. I have a U.S. passport. But yes, I was born in England. My father worked for Litton Industries, which is an American corporation, and was stationed over in England. My mom moved. They got divorced, moved to the States when I was 3.5, grew up in California from about the time I was 4 until I was 16. went to boarding school in Europe from the time I was 16, my junior and senior year of high school, went to boarding school in Europe, moved back to California, started college there, was not ready to be a full-time student at that point. So I took a couple of years off. I lived in Utah for about a year and a half, moved to Washington State, and then went back to school when I was about 21. Got my undergraduate degree from Evergreen State College in Washington State, and then took a year off, applied for law school, went to Cooley Law School in Michigan, spent 7 years practicing in Michigan. Okay. And so I was there for a total of 10 years. And then I moved out here in 2007. I like to say this is the place that I've been the longest, actually, as of last year. I've been here since 2007, and that I've lived here longer than any other place that I lived. So okay. Nevada's home.
And what brought you here?
I was living with my mom at the age of 36 because Detroit saw the recession before it even thought about happening out here. And so I was renting out my house, kind of taking whatever work would come through the door. And my mom basically said, "You're 36 years old. You have a law degree. Get out." And
Mom
so
kicked you out of her house.
Well, she didn't kick me out, but she basically said, "Go get a job."
As soon as you left, she changed the lock.
And so my dad was actually out in California, okay. And John McMillan from the Flangus McMillan Law Group ran into my dad at the John Wayne bar in Newport Beach, California. Okay. And they got to talking and got his phone number, called John. We talked on the phone. He invited me out for an interview, and I was out here a month later.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like that story.
Yeah.
So why in the world did you want to become a judge?
I always wanted to be a judge.
Why is that? Perry Mason turned you on?
No, actually, after I got out of law school, I worked for a judge. My last semester of law school, I worked for a judge. I always liked the law. I've always been fascinated by the law. My mother used to like to say that I would argue with God himself, and my response would be, well, if he was wrong, maybe, when I was a little kid. And so I've always been 5. So I've always been fascinated by the law.
Because God's always right.
Of course he is.
I threw you off, didn't I?
You did.
You've always been fascinated
by the law, but sometimes you don't want to have to pick a side.
Right.
Sometimes you want to just be able to make the decision.
Right.
And so that's what a judge does. Okay. I get to look at both sides. I get to look at all of the law that I want in order to make an educated decision. And I'm a big reader. I like to read. I like to dig in. All of my friends know that I go down rabbit holes when I'm researching cases.
Like in Vietnam.
And so that's what I look at as a judge. And that's why I was always interested in being a judge.
So do you follow the law to the T, or do you use discretion?
Well, it depends on whether or not discretion is allowed.
Okay.
So
when is it allowed, by the way?
When the law says it's allowed.
Okay.
So sentencing decisions, for example, we have discretion on sentencing decisions. But if I follow the law, if there's law and there's precedent that supports what one side or the other is arguing.
Gotcha.
If there is an issue of first impression that's never been decided.
Explain first impression, please.
So if you have a factual scenario that's never been brought before any court before, it's an issue of first impression. Okay. Nobody has ever interpreted the law as to what this means. And so it's our job to look at other states to see if other states have decided. Case law, right? Correct. To see if other states have decided, and to interpret based on what the statute says as to what that law actually means. And if nobody's ever done that before, that would be an issue of first impression. So it's my job to make sure that I'm looking at all of the case law that's out there, if it's an issue that's been decided, and rely on the precedent that's been decided, and what our Supreme Court or Court of Appeals or United States Supreme Court has laid down as this is how you need to follow this. But if nobody has made a decision on that, then it's my job to make the best decision I can by looking at what the statute says, looking at the facts of the case, applying the statute to the facts of the case, maybe looking outside of our jurisdiction to see if any other state has a statute that's similarly on point to ours, has the same sort of language that ours does. And what did that state do with a factual scenario that might be similar to ours? And take all of that and make the best possible decision that I can.
Gotcha.
And sometimes what I've always said and what I said when I was campaigning was you might not always agree with my decision. You might not always like my decision, but you are always going to understand how I got to my decision.
So you explain that to the litigants and counsel?
Always.
Okay.
Always. I always show my work. That's how I was raised. You know,
so you show your hand.
I show my hand.
You're not very good at poker then.
I am really good at poker.
Do you have just a criminal calendar?
No, I have both. I have
You have
criminal and civil and probate. I'm one of the 3 probate judges as well.
Okay.
Yep.
So you've done, because I was reading in your background that you did civil law.
Yes.
Did you do more civil law as an attorney?
Yes. I was a general civil practitioner for 20 years before I took the bench. I represented both plaintiffs and defendants. So I like to say I have a very balanced approach to law. Is I can usually, and it really helps because we also do settlement conferences as judges. We help other judges out settling their cases through the settlement conference program. And it really, I think, helps in that aspect for me to be able to say to people that are coming in front of me, both plaintiffs and defendants, when I'm talking to them, okay, this is how I see your hand playing out. This is how I see your hand playing out, because I know what the arguments are going to be on both sides because I've done that law. So that's when I knew that I wanted to be a judge, I made sure that I was at a general practice firm where I could practice all sorts of different areas of law and work on both sides for plaintiffs and defendants so that when I took the bench, I would be able to hit the ground running.
So you always knew you wanted
I
to
always
be
knew
a
I wanted
judge?
to be a judge.
How many cases would you or clients would you be juggling at any given time?
When I was practicing, about 40.
That's a lot. How do you keep all of the deadlines and appointments? I mean, all the court hearings, and how do you keep track of all that?
You know what's crazy as a practicing attorney? It was all up here. I had no problem with keeping it all. I have a very large memory. I'm somewhat photographic memory, not as good as I was when I was younger. But I was able to keep it all straight up in my head as a judge with 3,000 probate cases, 500 something criminal cases, 500 something civil cases. It's a little bit harder. And so I definitely rely on my staff my JEA is fantastic, and she keeps me organized and keeps my calendar and makes sure that everything's written down. We have it written down in many different places, but as an attorney, yeah, we had a main calendar, but most of it was usually up in my head.
What happens if you miss one? You don't answer a motion, or what, and it costs your client, money, costs them the case, or what happens with
it? Never happened to me.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I never missed a deadline.
That's good.
Are you on time?
Yes, I'm early.
No, I'm talking about on the bench.
I'm early. I think there's been 2 times. One time it was because we moved the calendar up and I had forgotten that we moved the calendar up. And even then, I was supposed to be there at 9 and I got there at 9:15 because I thought the calendar was at 9:30.
So you owe me 15 minutes of counseling time.
I'm always either on time or early. I really, really try to recognize that attorneys and litigants are getting paid by the hour and their time is valuable, and they shouldn't have to wait for me.
Some doesn't do it in 15 minutes increments. Some attorneys.
Yes, most attorneys do. Most actually bill in 6-minute increments, but
6.
Yeah.
Okay. So at your investiture
Yes.
back in 2021,
Yes.
you referenced yourself as what?
Wonder Woman.
Why?
Because I think that I am very good at being able to, no, what I said was I always wanted to be Wonder Woman. And now I have a cape and I get to sit up there and I get to look at and have people tell me the truth.
Do you have a truth lasso like Wonder Woman does?
I think I have a little bit of an inclination. I think I have a pretty good read on people as to when they're telling the truth and when they're not. I mean, listen, you've got to trust your gut sometimes.
That's true.
And it's gotten me to where I am now, and I think I'm doing pretty well. So
what does your gut tell you about being a judge?
what does my gut tell me about being a judge? What do you mean?
I mean, you said trust your gut.
Right.
So when you ran for judge and you were getting sworn in, what was going on?
When I was getting sworn in, I was very thankful and very appreciative that I've been given this opportunity. It's a huge responsibility. It's a huge opportunity.
Okay.
And it's everything that I've ever wanted. I mean, when your dreams come true,
It's true.
you know, I mean, that you can't help but be grateful. I think I actually referenced and said thank you to the 734,000 people that voted for me. Might have been 38, somewhere around there.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. We had a huge turnout at that election.
Oh, yeah.
So
How many appointments did you have?
I had one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Trevor Atkin.
Ah, Trevor. I know Trevor.
I know Trevor. Trevor's doing fantastic. And he thanks me every time I see him because he's doing fantastic.
You think you'll
Thank you for showing me the way.
this
I
time?
don't know. I really don't
Hard to tell.
know.
It's kind of early still.
It's still early. I don't know. I've heard from some people that I'm doing a good job and, you know, that they don't think that I'm going to get an opponent because I ran the last time with not a lot of support, not a lot of money, and I won. And I'm doing a good job. So why would somebody want to run against me? But who knows? You never know.
I want to share with you something.
Sure.
Several legislative sessions ago, no, I think it was the last two, actually.
Okay.
I was trying to get a bill passed, and it's called remove or retain.
Mm-hmm. I heard about that.
Yeah. So if a judge runs unopposed,
Right.
the people could decide
Right.
to keep the judge or remove the judge.
Right.
If the people decide to remove the judge, that seat becomes vacated.
Mm-hmm.
Judicial Selection Committee gets applications and fills that vacancy, and the following election year for retention, that person. How do you feel about that?
I don't think it's a feeling thing. It's really not up to me. It's up to our state as to, and they have unanimously over and over and over again said that they want to be in control of who they have on the bench. And
Well, that's a way to control it.
it is, but it also takes away because arguably, yes, they don't want to retain that judge, but would they then prefer to have new judges be able to be running for a seat as opposed to having now the appointment process? So I think that the appointment process somehow, in some ways, potentially might take away from the voice that the public has indicated its desire to have a say in who is on the bench.
But okay, so the public would say remove that person.
Okay.
They still have a voice. They
Correct.
say remove them.
Correct.
And let's get somebody else.
Well,
Wouldn't it be like the same?
no, because if you're removing that person, then instead of having a new election where somebody else is running for that seat, somebody else being appointed for that seat. And for however long that term is, the public is getting somebody put into that seat that is an appointment as opposed to somebody that they elected.
It's true. But the public could say, hey, you know, whoever's there now, we don't really want that person. So we want to try somebody new and see how that works
Could
out.
end up with a revolving seat.
What about the Missouri plan? You familiar?
I've heard of it, but I don't know that much about it to be able to.
It's practically the same thing.
Yeah.
The Judicial Selection Committee appoints, and then they go on the voting ballot, and the people either retain.
I don't like that.
Or get rid of. You don't like that one?
No, I wouldn't be sitting here.
You don't think you could have passed an appointment process?
I don't think that the appointment process even looks at. It's not that I wouldn't pass. I don't think that it even looks at people that are not politically juiced in.
And there is some truth to that, by the way. I have seen it, so I'm not going to argue with you on that point. Ms. Phillips.
I always look up, before a judge comes on and we interview them, I look up their reversal rate. And yours was about 25% or so. Can you explain what that is and explain that to the people, and if that's just appeals, or how does that work? What goes into that number?
Well, I think that it goes into whether or not a writ has been granted. It goes into if you've made a substantive decision and the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals disagrees with you. I don't know necessarily that the statistics are 100% accurate, and I'll explain what I mean by that, because in certain cases, I'll give you an example. I had one a couple of weeks ago where it was affirmed in part and reversed in part, but on the statistics, it went down as a reversal. But the substantive portion of the decision was actually affirmed. The part that got reversed was an attorney's fee award that they said I basically needed to do a little bit more work on. Mm-hmm. So it went down as a reversal, but the substantive part was actually an affirmance. So I don't know if necessarily the statistics are 100% accurate, but like I said before, we make the best decisions. I happen to have, I think maybe my second year on the bench, I had a lot of first impression issues that were very, very difficult. The Greater Las Vegas Association of Short-Term Rentals was my case. And they reversed me on that decision on the standing issue. And said that the Greater Las Vegas Short-Term Rental Association didn't actually have standing to bring the case. So it was an interesting reversal, but what ended up happening is as a result of the decision that I made, they ended up going back and changing some of the laws that they had put in place for the short-term rentals. And so they ended up working it out based on some of the decision that I had made, even though the Supreme Court reversed me. So just because you get reversed doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. It just means that you can get reversed for all sorts of different reasons. So, and I think it gives direction. But at the end of the day, we are all making the best decisions with the information that we are being provided by the attorneys and with the law that is being provided to us.
Whenever you come across an attorney that you discover, or a prosecutor, somebody that has withheld evidence in a case that you find out later, or an attorney who was tampering with a jury or something like that, do you have something that requires you to turn them in? And what are those steps that you have to do if you find something like that out on any of your cases?
I've never had that happen. And yes, there are ethical rules that attorneys are bound by. But Stephanie, honestly, I'm not going to make any proclamation on what I would do.
There's not something that's already set. Like if that does happen, that you're required to do A, B, and C. There's not anything like that. Okay.
No, because I have to look at what rule was violated. I mean, there are rules of professional conduct that do require, if it goes to the ability of an attorney to practice or to their character, that we do have a duty to report. But I don't know you have to look at what has actually happened. So I'm not going to make a proclamation on what I would do one way or
I thought
another.
you guys had to. I thought that there was ethical reasons.
There are ethical reasons,
to.
but you have to look at what the underlying facts are of what they did.
Yeah.
So,
You've been praised for balancing objectivity with empathy.
Oh,
How do you...
that's nice to hear. I like that.
How do you strike that balance when presiding over cases involving vulnerable or indigent litigants?
I guess I don't understand your question. I think it's written there. I balance my objectivity with empathy. I mean,
It doesn't matter to you then. Okay.
No.
All right. Just
Yeah,
want to clear that up.
yeah. I mean, listen, I think that you can tell I wasn't, I didn't go straight from high school to college and from college to law school. I lived a life. And so I have a lot of empathy for people. And I think that it makes me very good on the bench because we're not all perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Now, I do expect people to, if they're given an opportunity, to take that opportunity and make the best of it. I sometimes get disappointed when they don't, but I usually generally will try to give people a chance.
Okay. How many chances would you give?
Well, our legislature has given us guidelines on what we need to do. So,
And what did they say?
it depends on if it's a technical violation, a non-technical violation. It depends on the facts. So I'm not going to talk about cases.
No, I'm not mentioning cases.
It always
I know-
depends.
I know
The
that.
law-
It always
there's
depends.
Always, I get that answer a lot. It always
It
depends on.
It does.
Judges just say, you know better. And I'm like, I do. So I'm not going to ask what exact cases. Let's talk about Charlie versus Miranda now. I'm messing with you. Go ahead, Ms. Phillips.
Since you're going to be campaigning again.
Hopefully not.
Well, if
Hopefully
you do,
not.
well, last time you campaigned and the voters they never know the judges. It's, you guys are some kind of, enigma out here and people just don't know you. So how do you connect with voters? What kind of events do you go to? What kind of events would you plan in order that people would come down and meet you so that you are visible, approachable, to the public and that they have access to you?
So when I campaigned the last time, obviously we were in COVID. So campaigning was really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of stuff online. A lot of the Chamber of Commerce events were online, so you got to go to those. But to the events that I could go to, I would go to them. And I'm a member of Rotary. So I reach out through people through Rotary. I was also part of the Compassion Initiative. It's a homeless group that I support. And so I would go down and talk with them, meet with them on Monday evenings. I just try to get out and go to things. I've got a bunch of judge friends who say, this is the event that we're going to, come on. And so, I do rely on my friends for that type of stuff. My campaign manager, of course, tells me where I need to go and what I need to do, but I'm an independent. So it's actually a little bit difficult because a lot of the Democratic groups won't let you speak at their events. A lot of the Republican groups won't let you speak at their events. So I go to them, but 9 times out of 10, they won't let me speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've been a registered independent since I was 18 years old.
How about planning your own events? Because I ask judges this, frequently, and I haven't heard somebody come up with, this incredible idea that would draw people down, maybe a family event, maybe, something around sports that people could interact or a picnic or whatever. How would you draw people in? Because sometimes it's difficult to just connect with people at these certain lunches and events and the things like you're talking about.
I've never thought about that actually. We have to be careful, obviously, of how we are spending and utilizing our campaign funds. And so, but I've never thought about that, but it's an interesting idea.
Department 8 uses a modified Arizona method for jury selection.
Correct.
what led you to adopt this system, and what benefits or challenges have you observed? And could you explain the modified Arizona?
So the way that I do my jury selection is we get our panel and we I ask some initial questions and get rid of people for hardship reasons. So they've got a planned surgery, they've got a planned trip, and it used to be the phrase was, you have a planned trip and you can show me proof of your tickets. Listen, if you're going to tell me that you have a planned trip, I'm going to believe you, because quite frankly, if you're willing to lie to me, I don't want you there in the jury anyway.
I don't want you there anyway.
So I'm pretty liberal about allowing people off for hardship reasons. But it's not always up to me. I'll always ask the attorneys as well. So we'll go through, I make my notes, I bring everybody up and ask them, okay, are we willing to let this person go? And so say we lose 4 people from the box, which is where everybody's sitting, right? And then we have the audiences in the back. So we'll fill from the audience and put them in. Oh. Then I will turn, after I'm done with my questions, then I turn it over to the attorneys for them to ask their questions. I have changed it where instead of just focusing, a lot of times people would focus just on the people in the box, wouldn't ask any of the panel members. I changed it and instructed the attorneys to ask everybody in the room their questions. And then what we will do, and when I ask my questions, I'll say, how many people have lived here for 5 years? And I'll have them raise their hands. And I'll hit every single person in my room. What I find is that it takes a little bit more time up front, but what you don't end up with is when they're when we have to fill people in and then they're re-asking questions of those people, because they've already had those questions asked of them and they've already responded to them. You don't get what's known as the revolving seat, where you have somebody that is constantly going into that seat to be replaced, that now knows if they answer questions a certain way, they're going to get to go. It works magnificently. And every single attorney that I have had, when I've told them that this is the way that we're going to do it, at the very end has looked at me and said, I didn't think that was going to be a good idea, but wow, that worked out really well. So we fill in, and then once we're done getting our box, once we've got everybody in the box, then, well, no, because you have 24, because then 24. They get to do their preemptory challenges. So they'll do their preemptory challenges, and then we slide everybody over after that.
Gotcha. They kicked me out of jury 3 times on the phone even.
Really?
They wouldn't even let me go down to the courthouse.
I don't know about that.
3 times. No, 3 times.
Well, did the case...
I get the card. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Oh, Mr. Sanderson, no, we're good. You got that card by mistake.
Maybe it's settled. You never know.
I mean, I wouldn't mind sitting on one jury.
I've never even gotten called.
I'd want a murder case. That's what I'd want. Mm. I wouldn't want nothing to deal with money. I want something to deal with somebody going to prison. Uh-huh. That's the case I want. You think I'll make a good juror?
I'm not going to answer that.
I don't know about that. Probably.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ms. Phillips.
How often do you have to recuse yourself? Somebody has come before you before, or, whoever. Do you have a long list of people?
I don't have a list.
So doesn't every judge?
No.
Oh. So how often do you have to recuse yourself?
I have recused myself 1 time.
Have you been asked to be recused?
I have been asked by a couple of people to recuse, or motions to disqualify, I should say. Mm-hmm. I think maybe 2 or 3. Yeah. One of them from somebody who has sought to disqualify our entire Supreme Court. So
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, do you ever want to be a Supreme Court justice?
No, I don't. I like what I'm
This is
doing.
it?
I
Okay.
like what I'm doing. I think I make a difference.
That's good.
So, Judge Peterson,
Yes.
and I want to thank you for coming on.
Of course.
But I wanted to ask you: have you sat on any boards while you're
As a judge?
yes.
No,
No boards at all.
no boards at all. I was
Okay.
on the
No CLE boards or nothing
no.
like that.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I've done I've done a course through NBI where we as judges, me and other judges, we served as a panel, and they recorded it and utilized that for CLE credits, but not. I haven't sat on a CLE board.
You are a former board member of the Rape Crisis Center.
I was.
Being a former board member of the Rape Crisis Center and the Rotary Club prison, if there's any, you do criminal calendaring.
Yes.
If there's any rape cases that come before you, could you be objective?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't skew you in any way being
Mm-mm.
okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
I just wanted to know.
No, I follow the law.
Okay. You've always followed the law?
Always follow.
Remember
Well,
that time you were 8 years old and you walked into that 7-Eleven? You remember that?
See how he starts rumors.
I follow the law as a judge on the bench.
You have to qualify that. Any
Gotta put
other
a
time,
disclaimer.
forget it. Throw it
Don't
out
worry
the
about the
window.
time I was a judge. I was straight and narrow.
I follow the law when I am applying it to all the people that are in front of me, Steve.
Hey, we've learned that the judicial discipline
Let's not talk
commission,
about them.
they don't have jurisdiction over prior to you being a judge. So
That's right.
It's good.
According to the
But
letters
all
you
of-
anything
sent
you
me.
did
But
back
any-
then is okay.
But
Except if your name is Michelle
Except
Fury.
Michelle Fury. Sorry, Michelle.
but I will also say that anything that I have done that was required to be reported was reported. So
Okay. Well, Ms. Phillips, do you have anything else for Judge Peterson?
I ask all female judges, do you have a CCW?
no,
You don't carry a weapon behind the bench.
I do not.
Do you want one?
No, I love to go shooting, but I don't know that I want a CCW. I've thought about it. My friends have guns and we go out to the desert and shoot, and I enjoy it. It's a good stress reliever, but I've gone to the range a couple times and it's fun. But I don't know that I necessarily want to have a CCW.
Well, thank you for coming on the
Of
program.
course, thank you for having me.
Mark is going to zoom in on you,
Okay.
and you could say whatever you want and vote for me. My name is Peterson or something. Something to rhyme it. And your point of contact if you want to give it.
Hi, this is Jessica Peterson. Thank you for watching the show today. I am the District Court Judge for Department 8. I love what I do. I hope that you all vote for me during the next election in 2026 and look forward to meeting any of my constituents. If you ever want to come just down to the courtroom and sit in, you are more than welcome to watch what I do. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Folks, that's Jessica Peterson, Clark County District Court Judge, Department 8. And we hope that you got to know Judge Peterson a little bit more. And when you go to the voting booth, you're more educated on the incumbent that is running for this seat. This is Steve Sampson, Stephanie Phillips for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.